The Aramaic and Palestinian Targum. We're reading Deuteronomy chapter 25. If there be a controversy between two men, then they shall come to the judges, and they shall judge them, and give the decision or outweighing of righteousness to the innocent, and of condemnation to the guilty. And if the wicked deserve stripes, the judge will make him lie down, and they shall scourge him in his presence by his judgment, according to the measure of his guilt. Jerusalem text says, and if it be needful to scourge the guilty, the judge shall make him lie down, and they shall smite him in his presence, according to the measure of his guilt, by number. 40 stripes may be laid upon him, but with one less shall he be beaten. The full number shall not be completed, lest he should add to smite him beyond those 39, exorbitantly, and he be in danger, and that thy brother may not be made despicable in thy sight. You shall not muzzle the mouth of the ox in the time of his treading out. Jerusalem text says, Sons of Israel, my people, you shall not muzzle the ox in the hour of his treading. Nor the wife of the deceased brother, who would be mated with one smitten with an ulcer, and who is poorly related, shall thou tie up with him. When brethren from the same father inhabit this world at the same time, and have the same inheritance, the wife of one of them who may have died shall not go forth into the street to marry a stranger. Her brother-in-law shall go to her and take her to wife and become her husband. And the firstborn whom she beareth shall stand in the inheritance in the name of the deceased brother, that his name may not be blotted out from Israel. But if the man be not willing to take his sister-in-law, then shall his sister-in-law go up to the gate of the Beth Dim before 5 of the sages, 3 of whom shall be judges, and 2 of them witnesses. And let her say before them in the holy language, My husband's brother refuseth to take up the name of his brother in Israel, he not being willing to marry me. And the elders of his city shall call him and speak with him with true counsel. And he may rise up in the house of justice and say in the holy tongue, I am not willing to take her. Then shall his sister-in-law come to him before the sages, and there shall be a shoe upon the foot of the brother-in-law, a heeled sandal whose latchets are tied, the latchets at the opening of the sandal being fastened. And he shall stamp on the ground with his foot, and the woman shall arise and untie the latchet and draw off the sandal from his foot, and afterwards spit before him, as much spittle as may be seen by the sages, and shall answer and say, So is it fit to be done to the man who would not build up the house of his brother. And all who are standing there shall exclaim against him, and call his name in Israel the house of the unshod. Jerusalem text says, and his name in Israel shall be called the house of him whose shoe was loosed, and who made void the law of Yeboom. Yeboom, Y-E-B-O-O-M. While men are striving together, if the wife or one of them approach to rescue her husband from the hand of whom smitteth him, and putteth forth her hand, layeth hold of the place of his shame, ye shall cut off her hand, Your eyes shall not pity. Jerusalem text says, if she put forth her hand and lay hold by the place of his shame. You shall not have in your bag weights that are deceitful, great weights to buy with and less weights to sell with. Nor shall you have in your houses measures that deceive, great measures to buy with and less measures to sell with. Jerusalem text says, you shall not have in your houses measures and measures, great ones for buying with and small ones to sell with. Perfect weights and true balances shall thou have. Perfect measures and scales that are true shall be yours, that your days may be multiplied on the land which the Lord your God giveth you. For whosoever committeth these frauds, every one who acteth falsely in trade, is an abomination before the Lord. Keep in mind what the house of Amalek did unto you in the way, on your coming out of Mizraim, how they overtook you in the way, and slew every one of those among you who were thinking to go aside from my word. The men of the tribe of the house of Dan, in whose hands were idols of things of strange worship. And the clouds overcast them, and they of the house of Amalek took them and mutated them, and they were cast up. But you, O house of Israel, were faint and weary from the great servitude of the Mizraim, and the terrors of the waves of the sea, through the midst of which you had passed. Nor were the house of Amalek afraid before the Lord. Jerusalem text says, who overtook you in the way and slew among you those who were thinking of detest from my word. The cloud overcast him, and they of the house of Amalek took him and slew him. But you people, the sons of Israel, were weary and faint, nor were they of the house of Amalek afraid before the Lord. Therefore, when the Lord hath given you rest from all of your enemies around about in the land that the Lord your God giveth you to inherit for a possession, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. But of the days of the king Messiah, you shall not be unmindful. This is the end of the reading. Holy be his name. Just going back to about the woman whose husband died, and the brother of the husband won't take her to raise up a son to inherit. She uncovers his dirt and she spits on him. It's also interesting too that it says, and in the name of Israel shall be called the house of him whose shoe was loose, and who made void the law of Yebum. Now it's interesting because I think of John the Baptist, who says when Jesus came that he is not worthy to unloosen his shoe. So there must be something more in this, loosing this shoe and making void the law. Fascinating.